Namaskar and a very warm welcome to Impact Leaders with Simply Suparnaa, where we focus on leaders who have actually created impact in the development space. And now we're completely focused on creating a Viksit Bharat, a sustainably developed country. And we're featuring all the leaders, all the learnings that have happened in this space. Today, it's my pleasure, and I'm very thrilled to feature an exceptional individual whose work has transformed millions of young lives. Joining us today is Pankaj Vinayak Sharma, co founder and CEO of Transform Schools. They're dedicated to improving the quality of education across India, and they have been recognized by SABERA 2025 jury. And Pankaj has demonstrated an incredible leadership in scaling innovative education solutions. And scale is a key word here. We'll dive into a conversation with him, but before I bring him on to your screens, I'd like to start by invoking the higher power. Shakti has held me in good stead, and I'd like to start by reciting the Saraswati Vandana. Ya kundendu tushara haradhavala, ya shubhra vastravrita, ya veena varadanda manditakara, ya shweta padamasana, या ब्रह्मचित्त शंकर प्रभूति भी देवै सदा वंदिता सामाम पातु सरस्वती bhagavati निशेष जाड्यपहा. A very old Sanskrit verse talks about dispelling the darkness of ignorance that resides in our hearts with the wisdom and the light of knowledge. And now, without much further ado, let me bring Pankaj on to your screens. Hi, Pankaj. Thank you so much for doing this for us.
Hi, Suparna. Big thanks for having me over today.
We'll start with the very beginning, Pankaj. Tell me a little bit about your education. And I know now you're, completely immersed in the education field with Transform Schools. But tell me, how was it growing up for you?
When I think back of my childhood, I've had an exceptional childhood. I was raised in a squarely middle class family with academic parents. My father was a professor, my mom's a statistician, and I had an elder sister who was much better in academics, but I made up by being an overall all-rounder. And I think every which way, I've enjoyed my childhood a lot. And I think just the liberal values that I got from my education have held me in great stead.
And what was the trigger for you to get into social impact, considering that you've had very successful, parents as far as education is concerned? One would have imagined for you to follow their footsteps. And while you are in a certain way, but you're dedicated to social impact and especially into the most vulnerable sections of our country. So how did that shift happen?
Yeah, no, I think there's just one word for it, serendipity. And I think how that happened serendipitously was as somebody who was decent in academics, very good at theater, was a decent, actor. It just came down to managing to not clear my 12th standard. And I always put that as a significant feat. Because it takes a lot to not clear your board examination, and in those days there used to be a waiting period for you to reappear. Now the serendipity of it was that as somebody who was very keen to pursue communications, probably even journalism or literature, around that time a very unique course emerged in Delhi University called Bachelor's in Social Work. There used to be a master's program but not a bachelor's one.
Correct.
And it was very interesting that it was a competitive exam, so it meant that my pass grades were immaterial, and therefore the word that we use, permanent record, being botched, didn't matter. I did really well in that entrance exam. I did a 3 years bachelor's degree in social work, followed that up with a master's in social work, and I never looked back. I was in love with what I did. I was
Pankaj,
very
that must
clear.
have been a very traumatic experience for you. I remember, and while growing up, the whole thing of the board exam or पढ़ लो और नहीं pass करोगे तो छोले कुलचे बेचोगे. I've heard this so many times over while growing up and things like that. And And then to actually, in when the kind of guillotine fell and you couldn't clear 12, that must have been a very traumatic experience for you at home, wasn't it? I mean, right now you're sounding very cool about it, but I'm sure it must have
Absolutely.
happened
No, no,
back.
I think you're spot on, and I think it was sort of the the worst case scenario that any parent, any child could think of. But I'm sort of really happy to think that other than a little bit of sort of the larger familial pressure, my parents, my sister, really cocooned me. They made sure that I understood that this was not permanent, and there was a lot of good in me that would carry forward. And I think that is something which is not to be taken for granted. That is not there for all children even today. We worry a lot about these board examinations. And again, thinking of chola kulchas, if in those days people could actually account for gig economies and how much money that a successful chola kulcha wala makes, I'm not sure that that's actually a terrible choice. You're an entrepreneur, you are a master of your own fate, and you're a captain of your own chola bhaturas. So, so yes, but I think it comes down to having parents and having a bunch of teachers who said, no, this is temporary. Though you're not in the school system yet, let us work with you and help you clear this. And I did, and I never looked back after that. But it can be traumatic, and I'm certain it is.
So that's how your bent towards social work, because you actually cleared the exam for a bachelor's in social work, started, and that's where this entire stream opened up to you. But before you actually started Transform Schools, and Transform Schools is doing brilliantly well. I mean, the fact that you're just about 6 years old, it's a very young organization with the kind of impact, with impacting almost 10 million children across India, and a lot of them focused, like I said, in the rural or the marginalized sectors of India. I'm sure there's a lot of learning that you have brought on through your career graph before you actually started with Transform School. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I think what was very lucky for me was that straight after my master's program, I was picked up to be a management trainee, a fellow at one of the eminent development organizations in India. And in those days, these were good places, not just to pursue your work in development, but also to make a decent amount of money, because often we feel that charity workers, development workers should not be paid. They should do it out of their goodwill.
Out of their
And I think
goodwill
sort
and
of
out of their
balancing that.
charity, and it is their responsibility to do everything, carry it on their shoulders. That's it. आप तो charity का काम कर रहे हो, आपको पैसे की क्या जरूरत है?
Yeah. So I think sort of balancing that was very good. But what I also realized was that while I was doing good, I was sort of rising, as we often do in an organizational hierarchy, if we just stick the path, I felt that I wasn't learning enough. And I also felt that I was deeply interested in those days in health and how specifically focused, driven by numbers, health works. And so I took a very interesting, opportunity to begin with, to go and work in some of the 6 highest prevalence districts in the country, which used to be Belgaum, Bagalkot, Bijapur, Sangli, Sola, and Sangli, Sola, and Solapur and Satara in Maharashtra to be based out of Belgaum. And I absolutely enjoyed the experience. Again, it's a belief that I have that if you want to work for the development of the country, you can't only do that out of metros. Some of our bright minds need to migrate, reverse migrate to their origins. Though Belgaum was not my origin, but I lived and worked out of there for 2 years. Prior to that, I'd also done a stint in Sitapur in Uttar Pradesh. There was a time that I was just newly married, and so it was really funny to where people marry off that, so it's an aspirational thing to marry your children to folks who migrate outside the country. We did a rural migration. So we were very clear that this is the path to learn and grow. I think what brought us to Transform was a very interesting opportunity. I used to be the India country head for a really focused, and education-focused organization called Kusuma. And these folks were based out of UK, and they were in for it in the long haul. And a bunch of circumstances led them to refocus their efforts. And by then, I had already put in 8 years of effort with Kusuma, building interventions ground up that could be scaled in government partnership. And I think because of personal setbacks, Kusuma decided that they wanted to focus not so much on India, but on other pursuits. And me and my colleagues, the senior management colleagues, within the organization, but also field staff, were very clear that we only have one country, and that is India. We were at that point only working in Odisha, and we were very clear that we wanted to continue to work in partnership with the government. And as luck would play out, everything cleared to create opportunities for us to set up transform schools. Government of Odisha was very kind, and they said we would still like to work with the same team. We actually would not worry too much about the organization where this team works. So we got our first break there. And then we were invited by government of Haryana and Himachal to start showing and demonstrating our work, which we had been doing for years in Odisha. And फिर एक एक करके states जुड़ते गए, opportunities मिलती गईं, and we were able to expand.
Looks like we have a static screen problem here with Pankaj. But what it reminds me of essentially when he was talking about the reverse migration was the fact, when my daughter was growing up and we were conducting these menstrual hygiene workshops across the urban slums in and around Delhi. She used to be carrying my placards, and she used to be helping me out in conducting these menstrual hygiene workshops. And I used to keep thinking that here are parents who would take their kids across to fancy places and all, and I'm taking her across to these slums. So but it has helped that build that character in her, and I'm sure it has helped build character with your relationships, your people who are around you. But also tell me a little bit, Pankaj, about what exactly were you doing with Odisha government that the other governments also approached you to conduct the same?
Yeah, no. So I think as and Kusuma was a funder. It was an impact funder, and our job was to fund a lot of other not-for-profits to build secondary school focused interventions. But there was a constant frustration that I kept feeling around, year on year, reading the Asar report, the National Achievement Survey, saying that our children are not learning. And one day, when we were at one of the schools in Sambalpur district, there was a girl who was telling us that she feels that she's sitting in a classroom, and the teacher was a radio in some alien language playing for her. And clearly as an exceptional radio host, you understand how alienation of your audience is the worst thing that any sort of presenter may want. And when we started to delve deep, we realized that these children who were in class 9th could not even follow text of class 3. They could not do simple mathematical calculations of basic fractions. Now, we can just keep talking about these issues and say, okay, here is the problem. And I still remember this girl's name. Her name is Rosaline. What we realized was that if we were to build a pathway for girls like Rosaline, where they can go back and get a second chance, pretty much like the way Pankaj did, of their foundational competencies, where they are able to, in their own school, in the safe space of their school, without paying any money, they can learn the prerequisite competencies for the secondary school classes. And then they catch up to the grade level. Even if we can't do that for all the girls and the boys, even if we can do that for about 50% of these, we would have made a lot of dent in the learning outcomes, in the aspirations, in the confidence of these children. And we would ensure that teachers are not alienated from their students, because students actually understand what these teachers are doing with so much of difficulty. And that is what we built.
And what
We were able.
exactly would, if you were to explain to me what exactly, say, suppose what was the exact intervention?
G. So what we do is that we train teachers to transact uh, class 3 to class 5 content in class ninth. We do that rapidly for 50 hours for each subject, being science, maths, English, and the local language, whether it's Odia or Kannada. Uh, and we do that through a absolutely structured, scripted approach for which the teacher is trained. And it uses the National Achievement Survey, the ASR survey, and teachers' own experiences to identify what are the weak spots for these children to help them overcome those. We do a simple baseline which the teacher runs, and we believe in teachers, and an end line that the teacher runs. The assessments are designed by us so that they also are able to see the change that they are bringing in their cohort's life. Simply put, that is what this very powerful intervention is, which is today statewide in Odisha. It is statewide in Karnataka. It is going to be statewide over the next 12 months in Tripura. And if we are able to line up more partners, then intend to go to multiple states.
So what I understand from you is it's basically the brushing up of the basics for the secondary school children, because a lot of times those basics are not clear, and that's the reason why to build up on that becomes even more difficult. Is that what it is?
Absolutely. And if you see sort of a comparison as building, unless your foundation is strong, then your ground floor is not going to be strong, and therefore then your first floor is not going to be strong. And by the time you reach secondary school, the entire edifice is so shaky that you do not see the return on investment. Uh, you feel that, well, is there value and returns on this investment as a student and as a parent? And you are not able to see the differentiation in what you're able to get in the job market. And addressing these immediately is, I think, the most urgent thing. And government has made provisions for these. The challenge is that many state governments are unable to find something with efficacy, evidence, as you said, which they believe in, and then they can scale up. That is what we've been doing, building evidence, marketing these, and scaling these.
At the face of it, it looks like such a simple solution, but it is remarkable, because most people who look at interventions at the secondary level are in terms of building their interest in the STEM subjects. So whether it's science or technology, so that they can take on these mathematics and etc., and they build tools around it, make it fun, etc. But I think the fact is, the reason why a lot of children divert away from these is because the understanding is not there. And that, I think, you have mapped very well, that unless you understand the basis, and then it becomes fun, then you can grow on it. And I think kudos to that. That is quite innovative, for sure. And when it comes to actually measuring impact, how has it actually made a difference? Because I know you also mentioned that this is tailor made as per the cultural relevance of a particular state, because we're such a diverse country, and it can't be like a copy paste job. While it'll tick all the boxes, but it can't be something that you're teaching in Assam or Odisha, for that matter, a similar kind of a thing. While the basis may be the same, but in how you actually present it, it could be different. And that's where the impact will also come.
Yeah, no, I think sort of you've touched upon three, I think, very important points. One, that building aspirations is very important. We work on that as well. We work with girls, we work with tribal students, and I think science capital, for example, is an important differentiator. So how much you are willing to study science, how much do you know science, changes the way you earn and your next generations earn. So there's a lot of literature on that. But now, if I don't have the abilities, and you're building a lot of aspirations, this will only lead to frustrations. So I think building that foundation, as you said, to learn STEM and sustain that interest and convert that into professional journeys is what we want to focus on. Second is that customization is a very important part of what we do and what everybody should do. That makes our job a little bit more complicated, frustrates our funders and supporters a little bit. But unless as a teacher, you don't believe in this content, if it does not resonate with you, if it does not address your pain points of your particular state, if your examples are, about Mississippi River, but not about Brahmaputra, then that resonance is not going to happen. And I think that's where customization is important. One more very interesting reason for customization, Suparna, is also, hum hai aur hum chale jayenge, that we know as an NGO. If you build states' capacities to use some of these tenets, some of these thumb rules, because of the fact that you're co-creating the approach, co-creating the content, you're working with some incredible colleagues in the SCRTs, in pedagogy departments, with expert teachers in the state, that stays in a state. I think that's the other aspect of it. Now, coming to assessments, I think there are two ways in which we look assessment, which is very, very important. One is each teacher must believe in the data, so they must collect the data. I just said that we design the assessment with help of state level experts, but this is not a assessment where a bunch of people come in and do the assessment, don't show anything to the teacher and go away. Teachers run the assessment. Teachers are the ones who are implementing the assessment, and then a quality assurance process is run to ensure that we believe in those assessments. Now, what is very interesting is about 99% of these assessments are true assessments. Teachers are not fudging numbers. Much like that, the blame game that we say that, oh, teachers are not interested, teachers are not teaching. That's absolutely not the truth. If you empower teachers, you give them actionable tools, and they have data which they believe in, they are very committed to bring about a change. And I think that's what gives me most hope, not other stuff. And I think second is that we work with evaluators, people like Jamil Abdul, Poverty Action Labs, with people as London School of Economics, renowned researchers from India itself, to really both get in both quantitative and qualitative insights into our work. And over time, tracking board examination results, tracking national achievements survey results to see, are we even having the dent that we are claiming that we are having, and holding ourselves to that. Our funders do that, our board does that. And I think that's what makes us, always wanting to pursue things rather than to declare success.
Pankaj, in your conversations, what has actually stood out for me is the collaborations that you've had. Whether it be through assessments like what you just alluded on, or whether it be through the governments, or whether it be through the funders. So I think, in a way, are you also ready as a platform to now share the knowledge that you have gained with other, organizations who are in their nascent stage as far as secondary education specifically is concerned, or maybe they are in education and not really focus so much on how your learnings have been? Are you open to collaborating with such organizations, individuals, and what can be the process if yes?
Yeah, no. I mean, I love the fact that you started with a Saraswati Vandana. And I think what is very important is to believe that, knowledge rests in all stakeholders, not just in us. And I think the fountain of knowledge is other organizations as much as us and the government. So there are three things that we do for that, Suparna. One is all our resources are registered as Creative Commons 4.0 like. So if Suparna's, other partners, other colleagues want to use ghar pe bhi, hey, I want to use this at home. I want to understand, how, Transform is teaching English. Those are available to download. Those are available to use. And we offer these to all the not-for-profits and governments that we work with through a simple licensing process, and we provide it free of cost. We don't charge any money, because some not-for-profit or a foundation like Dell Foundation has already paid for it. Why should you charge people for things that are public goods? Second is that we have created a platform called the State of Secondary Education Movement, where all secondary education focused actors in India and international actors are invited to collaborate in sharing their research learnings, their implementation learnings, and their funding focus to inform each other. Within that, we are also trying to get in government actors to be able to put out their charter of needs and priorities to be able to align these. This is still in an origin sort of an originating state, but it has already picked up momentum, where we feel that not just us, but everybody needs to share transparently comparable data, where we are able to ensure that we are not pulling wool over eyes of our government, each other, and pretending ki things have been sorted. We really need to sort this issue before we are able to become Viksit Bharat, because this is the pathway that will lead us either to higher education, scientific discovery, industry, or to job opportunities for our young people. We just can't afford to miss secondary education.
So tell me, Pankaj, how is it that one can access all of this? Is it through this website address that is scrolling on the screen right now, or is there any other
Yes.
way that people can reach out?
No, absolutely. There is a link there called partnerships at transformschools.in. We are very happy to share this with you. We also have started a boot camp process for our state governments. We just did one for government of Tamil Nadu. We've also been working very closely with government of Karnataka right now. So if you're a government actor, very happy to take you through the processes as well, that what it takes to scale it up. And as you said, it looks simple, but it really requires a lot of hard funding and conscious ability to stay the course. And if you're a not-for-profit actor, absolutely open to sharing resources, sharing methodology, and most importantly, learning from you. Because I also feel that we don't have all the answers. I think it'll be full of hubris to believe that we have all the answers.
Pankaj, on our parting note, I'd like you to share your experience with the SABERA platform. You've recently been acknowledged there, in New Delhi last month. How has your experience been with interacting with SABERA, the platform, as well as I'm hoping there was some kind of connections made for you as well through the event?
Yeah. No, I think uh, of all the platforms that I've engaged with, there is a certain amount of humanity that seeps through when you engage with folks at Sabera. Very strong mission focus, and yet the humanity is never diluted. So, kudos for that. I really feel that I'm speaking to another person, not an evaluator or an award giver, and I think that's very difficult to do. I think the second thing is that focusing on small things with an eye on really big impact really resonates with Transform Schools. I think what Sabera has figured out is the devil lies in the detail. So do the gods, and I think really making sure that each of these individuals, each of these initiatives that you celebrate, really can impact our nation. I think that's unparalleled, and I think finally, I think with you, Suparna, and the team, I think just the simplicity and the ease of connection, and how open you are, to support other not-for-profits, other funders, to be a dot connector. It has been incredible. So thank you for that.
Thank you so much for the work that you're doing, Pankaj. Kudos to you and your team, your co founders, and the innovative solutions that you've brought to the table that you're so willingly and openly, wanting to share with the rest of the country. I think that in itself speaks volumes for the kind of work that you're doing. And I'm sure we're a step closer towards Viksit Bharat. Thank you for all that you're doing. And continue to do good is all that I can say.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was lovely speaking with you.